OutonoDourado versus ShengShun. Let's go ahead and get into the gameplay with the starting mulligans. And it is starting with the Frostbite Foundry versus Discard Aggro.
I do have a feeling like we've seen this before. Maybe because we actually have seen this before. But who do you think is still going to be capable to win? Like, we have seen this Frostbite Foundry taking wins out of the aggro. Are we still putting our money on the Frostbite Foundry, or do we think that this Draven Jinx is going to be able to finally take one home?
It's hard. I don't know. So I feel like with what we saw initially, I feel like the Frostbite Foundry will have the advantage again. Now, obviously, that depends on draws and things of that nature. But the problem is, if Frostbite Foundry can stabilize, Utono eventually needs to rely on draw. Because we need to draw Jinx. We need Jinx to draw us more cards, to do more burn, and discard our hand, and get the Super Mega Death Rocket. And the problem is, depending on when that comes online in the game, it's going to be an issue getting those puff caps off on the cards that we're drawing when they start to add up. So like this Hexcore Foundry as an example, we saw this happen last game that we saw ShengShun take on a discard aggro. The Foundry did not come down until like the last couple of turns before ShengShun was going to close out the game. And I imagine that's going to be the same thing that we see happen here.
And looking back at the game with the hand that we have seen last turn for OutonoDourado, I think the only thing that is missing and was missing instead of the Arena Battlecaster was a crowd favorite. With this type of hand, we would have been able to fill the board at burst speed and just play a crowd favorite, and that would have been a lot of damage. But unfortunately, he doesn't get it. He still gets a white swing, but on ShengShun's side, as we can see, there is static shot that's going to be able to deal with double the units and ease a bit of the pressure in this situation.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the biggest and best swing cards in this matchup is Static Shock. You get a 3-for-1 essentially. I mean, it's absolutely insane. You kill 2 units, you draw a card. That's a huge swing. You are still taking a lot of damage here, but again, I think from here on out, ShengShun has a pretty good shot at stabilizing, although Utono's going pretty wide. And there's an augmented experimenter, so we are going to be going into what looks like a turn 6, refueling our hand. There is a crowd favorite as well. Looking at things, Castmin, I gotta say I give the advantage to Utono, and Sheng just not finding Teemo, not finding any ways to really do a whole lot of damage. Even with Utono just taking these smashes to the face with the Peddler, I don't think it's going to be enough.
You can still go with your ShengShun here with the... You can still go with the Thermal Beam, try to remove the 6-5 here that is on the board, because it's going to be quite a lot of damage. And we see OutonoDourado doesn't want to take any prisoners. He wants to remove as many units as possible. So he gets to swing as wide as possible for himself, trying to put ShengShun on the defense really, because while he has spells to stall, we see a lot of freezes here. They are going to, as the name says, stall the game, freeze the game, but it's not going to stop OutonoDourado to be able to build up more pressure.
Yeah, the problem with these harsh winds, I'm actually surprised we didn't see Augmented Experimenter just come out onto the Peddler, and it might be because we have that get excited. The problem with harsh winds is, sure, you live, you only take 2 damage, feels pretty good. You even get to maybe trade with something, depending on what you're blocking. Now, it looks like we're not gonna. But you lose so much tempo, because, that's it, that's your turn, that's your mana. You basically just spent 6 mana to live until the next turn, is all you did, and it's not gonna feel that great. That's 3 shrooms, though. Wow, that's a lot of shrooms in one draw. That is definitely some pretty bad RNG there for Utono. And I mean, this Teemo might level up here with a strike. I don't know how many puff caps are shuffled in. And okay, yeah, we're just gonna kill it immediately and say, get Teemo the hell out of here.
But what did Teemo do wrong? He's just a tiny war criminal that is putting a lot of puff caps in your deck. He's feeding you. He's giving you puff caps so you can live a happy, merry life. It's not going to be a long one, but it's going to be happy.
I think now is where you consider playing Hexcore Foundry. Because, like, you lose. You might as well start drawing cards to see if you find an out. Like, you got to figure your opponent's probably going to start drawing cards as well. Or maybe you wait to play it until you see something like Augmented Experimenter come down, and then you realize it doesn't actually matter like you might as well just start drawing as well
But
as your
this
opponent.
augmented experimenter can very well kill Autono because of the shrooms that he has in the
Yep.
deck. It's a matter of time if that is going to happen. But unfortunately for ShengShun, just one mushroom being drawn, and also unfortunately for ShengShun, Jinx is drawn. So more damage, more scary board. You need some answers.
All right, so ShengShun, I guess, just really waiting till the last possible minute to play Hexcore Foundry, which I can't hate. I mean, it makes sense. We do have the harsh winds to prevent an open attack, so Utono will have to develop. This harsh winds now only prevents, so it's still going to let 3 damage through. So we live. We're still alive, and that means more draws for Utono to possibly kill themselves, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard for ShengShun. I mean, I'm trying to think of what type of top deck we'd need. Unfortunately, with something like Get Excited in hand, an Ezreal or a Teemo is actually just not going to do it, and that is terrible. That is another freeze effect that we just don't want. We have to play Foundry now.
Actually have to, and the freeze is not going to be enough. Autono doesn't decide to put even more pressure up. Let's see how much damage. He already has a painful lot of damage here, so this swing should be little. We do have double freeze, so that puts us on 7 if we're freezing the most attack units, and that's
I think we live. We live with troll. Oh wait, no, we can't troll chant because we don't have our own unit. You actually need a unit to target for the second half of troll chant in order to use it, so we can't minus the attack and survive. It wouldn't matter. I mean, we lose to Get Excited anyways. But yeah, discard aggro taking this one. So it looks like if Frostbite Foundry does have the advantage in this matchup, it's not all the time. And like you were mentioning earlier, it might be something closer to like 50-50, really.
Yes, and Hexor Foundry still manages to be in the game. It can be played in the last game. You need to take a win with the deck anyway, so why not just queue it again if you're ShengShun here? It was quite painful because he had a lot of freezes, a lot of stall, but stall is not enough against a deck that can manage to build up pressure consistently. Freezing the units doesn't remove them from the board. You need to draw specifically a removal, and that did not happen for ShengShun in the first game.
Nope, and just saying, not to jinx ShengShun or anything, but Utono took game number 1, so I'm liking my favorite here. Now we got Spider aggro, and not only that, like I like Utono just because I've seen Utono play in so many tournaments, but my boy is playing triple aggro, and we all know how much I love aggro, so I'm liking this. It's feeling pretty good. I'm liking the performance I'm seeing put on by Utono here.
But I think if you're thinking about anything here is if this deck that is Teemo Freeze is going to get out of the way, and if this card was left open, he might just be able to win. There's a lot of ifs, but if this card is open, I think it is the superior aggro deck, no matter what you can think about, because it has the potential to high roll besides usually playing the fast curve anyway. So yeah, that's about it. But until then, we do need to see a win from this Hexcore Foundry deck.
Yeah, and I think generally speaking, this matchup again, I think the Spider aggro deck has an absolutely astronomical advantage with all these fearsome attackers. One Frenzied Skitterer, which we already see this Frenzied Skitterer making a huge impact. And we saw it, I think, in round 6 a little bit earlier today. These Frenzied Skitterers literally just end the game versus this deck because so many units have only 3 attack, and one Frenzied Skitterer puts them outside of fearsome blocking.
All right. I think here ShengShun was considering going for both Brittle Steel and the Thermal Beam just to ease a little bit of the pressure. Thermal Beam would have been able to deal with at least one of the units, and that would have been able to award him with more HP in this round. We're not going for that gameplay anyways. We're just going to use the Brittle Steel and rely on our other cards in order to be alive.
All right, there's Ezreal as well, and Stalking Shadows. Oh man, especially. I mean, we all know. Oh, see, this is where I can use the invoke. There you go. See, Castmin. See, it's just for Stalking Shadows is all it is. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, all right. So we just nailed Skitterer with Stalking Shadows. We also have 2 Stygian Onlookers in hand. This is a aggro player's wet dream, baby. This is what you want. It's not only that. When everything's said and done, and you throw all this down on the board, we have a Stalking Shadows to refuel our hand and a Decimate to go face. Things I think are looking up for Utono here.
Is this going to be the fastest final in the West? It surely looks like this. And the Noxian Forward to top it off to have even more damage. You can play this Stygian Onlookers first, and then after. Oh my god.
Okay, that is not good. Withering Whale, where are you at, man? Where is that card? Avalanche? Anybody? Anybody get an Avalanche? Do we have one somewhere? Holy Jesus. And then you're going to get a Skitterer to top it all off, and all of a sudden you ain't got no blockers. Look at that.
Well, you can play a freeze on one of the attackers, and you can play your Thermo Beam on the other of the attackers, and you limit your opponent to only 6 damage, but your opponent has Decimated Noxian Forward. How do you survive that?
Oh my god, this is insane. Not only that, we can just do this all over again next turn. We can literally do the same exact thing next turn. Skitterer, double Stygian, GG. Wow. Like, this Spider aggro deck. And so here, that's the thing, right? This Frostbite Foundry, the win it needed to pick up was versus discard aggro, right? It was probably always going to lose the Spider aggro because of these fearsome units. The power of Frenzied Skitterer cannot be understated. Do you remember when Frenzied Skitterer was stronger than a 3-2? Wasn't it like a 4-3? Or was it
No, it was a 3-3. It was a 3-3.
No thank you. Get that out of here. This card is so good.
You can even find the use for your Noxian Forward now if your opponent goes for the Mystic Shot.
Oh my god. Yeah, right? Now you just play the Fervor in response. There's Decimate.
No, I actually don't care if you play double Decimate.
Brach Kata. He's channeling, Utono's channeling his inner Brach Kata with that Decimate top. Just Decimate after Decimate to win the game. And I'm surprised that Mystic Shot didn't go face for ShengShun. I mean, listen, not for nothing. ShengShun's doing a good job. Like, we have damage. Like, look, all right, there's one more shoot. We have 3 more damage in hand. We have, like, we would be closing out the game possibly this turn if it wasn't for this ridiculous Decimate, Top Dank, Noxian Fervor, all this stuff. Like, oh my god. Yeah, look at this is 2 more damage. And we're actually close to lethal with the next couple of draws with the Foundry, believe it or not. Like, this was actually I know it didn't seem like a close game to everybody watching, but this was close. This was actually a close game. Oh, and that is OutonoDourado taking home the first ever Portuguese community tournament with, we called it, Castmin, you called it, you mentioned it. Are we going to have the same thing happen for the finals? Yes, indeed. We have a 2-0 in the finals. Triple aggro taking it home.